Dante Alighieri is not just the father of the Italian language, he is much, much more. He is the poet of the soul, the traveler of worlds, the witness to the human condition in its highest and most desperate form. Understanding Dante doesn't simply mean studying his verses. It means coming into contact with a profound message that crosses the centuries and still speaks to us today. A message that asks us, are you truly living the life you were born to live? Because for Dante, it is not enough to merely exist. One must be saved. And to be saved, one must choose, act, and face their own shadows. In this video, we will discover what Dante truly wanted to communicate through his comedy. An invitation to look within, to seek the truth beyond appearances, and to remember that every soul can rise from its own hell, but only if it finds the courage to go through it. Dante Alighieri, known today as Dante, was born in Florence in 1265, in a time marked by deep political, religious, and social tensions. But that same Florence was also experiencing a period of great economic and cultural growth, a lively, dynamic city in full ferment. The Alighieri family was not noble, but respectable enough to have a surname, an uncommon privilege at the time. Over time, the family grew wealthier, allowing Dante to devote himself to studies, literature, and even a military career. From a young age, he stood out for his sharp intelligence and thirst for knowledge. He studied the classics, philosophy, and theology. But above all, Dante met Beatrice, a girl who would become much more than a mere earthly love. She would become his spiritual guide, the figure who, in his writings, symbolizes truth, grace, and salvation. But Dante was not only a man of letters, he was also a man of the state. Between 1290 and 1302, he held prominent positions in the Florentine government, becoming one of the 6 priors of the Republic. In those turbulent years, while the Ghibellines had already been driven out, the Guelphs themselves split into 2 factions, the Whites and the Blacks. Dante belonged to the White Guelphs, but the Blacks, backed by the Pope, seized power. Thus, in 1302, Dante paid a high price for his political stance, being banished and exiled from Florence under these charges. Dante Alighieri is condemned for graft, fraud, falsehood, deceit, malice, unjust extortion practices, unlawful profits, pederasty, and is sentenced to a fine of 5,000 florins, perpetual exclusion from public office, perpetual exile in absentia, and if caught, to be burned at the stake so that he may die. Book of the Nail, State Archives of Florence, March 10, 1302. Thus began a long exile which would be traumatic but also transformative for him. He wandered through the courts of northern Italy, a guest of nobles and patrons. But it was precisely in that pain, in that distance, that Dante began his true journey. Not a movement through space, but a descent into the abyss of human consciousness. This is how his greatest work was born, the Divine Comedy. The Divine Comedy is an epic theological, philosophical poem, but also deeply human. It is not just the journey of one man through hell, purgatory, and paradise. It is the journey that all of us are called to make, sooner or later, within ourselves. Because for Dante, evil is not an abstract force. It is the sum of our wrong choices, our selfishness, our omissions. In his hell, among the most punished sinners are the indecisive, those who never chose, never took a stand in life, neither for good nor for evil. They lived halfway like shadows. Dante despises them more than anyone else, because there is nothing more terrible than indifference. Fame of them the world permits not to endure. Mercy and justice disdain them. They deserve neither hell nor paradise, only oblivion. The entire work is woven with numerical and allegorical structures, where every detail has a hidden meaning. 3 things there are that cause all heaven to tremble: the mind, time, and the soul. The poem begins with a famous scene, a man who finds himself lost in a dark forest, a symbol of sin and moral ruin. This man is the poet himself, though the reader doesn't discover it immediately. Dante tries to escape that darkness, and before him he glimpses a hill illuminated by the sun, salvation. He tries to climb it, but three beasts block his way: a leopard, a lion, and a she-wolf, allegories respectively of lust, pride, and greed, the three great root sins according to Christian tradition. Unable to ascend, Dante is forced to retreat into the darkness, where he meets Virgil, the great Latin poet, who represents human reason. He will be the one to guide Dante through hell and purgatory, but he cannot lead him to paradise. There, the guide will be Beatrice. "You are my guide, my lord, and my teacher," says Dante to Virgil in Canto 2, entrusting him with his initial salvation. Beatrice is not only the woman Dante loved in real life, and to whom he dedicated the Vita Nuova, but she is the symbol of salvation through faith, the light that leads the soul toward God. Years earlier, Dante had written an extraordinary promise: "If it shall be pleasing to the one in whom all things live, that my life continue for a few more years, I hope to say of her what has never been said of any woman." And so he did. He transformed a real woman, perhaps never truly known, into an eternal archetype, the path to spiritual elevation. In Paradise, he writes, "Into her aspect I became so deeply entered, as Glaucus did on tasting of the herb that made him consort in the sea with the other gods." Dante himself is a symbol, the image of humanity that has lost its way and seeks to find the path again. His dark forest is ours. His fears are ours. The beasts that stop him, lust, greed, pride, are the same ones that still keep us from rising. Dante represents every human being who, at a certain point in life, realizes they've lost meaning, direction, the straight path. And so his journey becomes the journey of each of us, a path of crisis, of searching, of transformation. To cross the hell of our mistakes, to be purified through pain, to recognize the value of reason, but understand that only faith, love, and grace can lead to salvation. This is the path that Dante invites us to take, because in the end, as he himself writes, the more one knows, the more one grieves to waste time. Life is a responsibility, and every soul, no matter how fallen, can rise again. The success of the work is immediate. The comedy was already circulating while Dante was still alive, in an era when the printing press didn't yet exist and every copy had to be written by hand. After the author's death, his fame exploded. Everyone talked about it, everyone commented on it, everyone recited at least a few lines. Even merchants, commoners, and the less educated knew some passages by heart. One of the reasons the comedy had such a profound impact was Dante's revolutionary choice to write in the Florentine vernacular and not in Latin. In a time when knowledge was reserved for the few, Dante believed that truth should be shared, not hoarded. He wrote in the language of the people because he believed in the justice of accessible words, because everyone, even those who didn't know the language of the learned, should be able to read, understand, and grow. His work thus became the very foundation of the Italian language, and for this Dante is not just a poet, he is the father of a culture. As he wrote in De Vulgari Eloquentia, "We call vernacular that language which we learn without any rule by imitating our nurse." In the Convivio, Dante explores a concept that would become central to his comedy, that man has within himself the potential to rise through knowledge and reason, but only if he is willing to question himself, only if he is ready to abandon the illusions of the world. "The human soul is that which can reach the most noble perfection," he wrote, "but to get there, it must begin a journey. It must learn to see." In De Monarchia, Dante presents a vision that is clear and almost revolutionary for his time. Spiritual and temporal authority must remain distinct. The power of the church must not invade political power, because when religion and politics are confused, truth is corrupted, and the people suffer the consequences. In this too, Dante is modern. He is a man of his time, who sees beyond his time. In Purgatory, man finds redemption. Climbing the terraces, he purifies himself from what tied him to the material world and rediscovers his inner light. Every soul that Dante encounters has a story, a sorrow, a desire to return to the truth. It is the realm of hope. of possibility. Freedom he seeks, which is so dear, as knows he who for her life refuses, he writes, speaking of that deep yearning that stirs every conscience. In paradise, at last, Dante witnesses the vision of perfect harmony, of divine order. But what strikes us is not the richness of the heavenly descriptions. It is the idea that the universe itself is moved by love. As he writes in the final verse of the comedy, "The love that moves the sun and the other stars." A line that captures the true essence of Dante's message. The universe is not chaos, but an order animated by love. And salvation is not just faith. It is knowledge, experience, personal responsibility. This is why the comedy is divine, because it unites the human and the divine, the darkness of hell and the light of paradise, doubt and faith, poetry and philosophy. We live in a world that pushes us towards superficiality, indifference and quick judgment. Dante leaves us with one of the greatest lessons of all time. Salvation is an inner journey. It requires choice. It requires awareness. It requires courage. He warns us that living without looking within is like not living at all. And he reminds us powerfully that it's not enough to withdraw or look the other way when the path becomes difficult. To truly grow, we need obstacles, even pain. Even today, 7 centuries later, he asks us the same question. Are you willing to descend into your own hell in order to rise again to your light? Dante Alighieri is not a distant memory. He is a beacon shining in the present, a voice that continues to speak to us precisely in the moments when we search for meaning. His words are not just meant to be read, they are meant to be lived. Because Dante teaches us that it is not enough to exist. We must be saved, and to do that we must begin the journey, a journey toward the understanding of ourselves.